It is time for Triple Play, the 3 tickers that we're taking a look at today. So I'll kick us off with my pick, which is ticker symbol BABA. That's right, I'm going with Chinese tech giant Alibaba. Now, we did see the shares rising today on news that Chinese regulators are considering easing back on their tech crackdown. As you can see there, the stock up more than 7% on the day there, but it's still down about 17% year to date. So a bit of a positive blip there, but still not the end of the story. Now, that story coming from the South China Morning Post, and it's also been boosting shares of other Chinese shares in JD.com, Baidu, even Chinese ETFs on this news. Now, the Chinese government is also going to reportedly have a symposium that's going to be featuring the biggest Chinese tech giants. Now, that's supposed to be from April 30th to May 4th. Now, we do know, of course, that COVID outbreaks in Beijing, Shanghai, and in other cities have really threatened China's economic recovery. So they've added risk to companies that have exposure there. But this is sort of putting this impetus for China to do more to boost its economic recovery.
I'm going to try and keep the e-commerce trend going here in our Triple Play on the day. Let's talk a little Walmart here. It's not necessarily because of their e-commerce, but they still do have a heavy investment there. Walmart's actually stretching further into the fitness and athleisure category as the company announces a new brand, Love and Sports, which is created in partnership with designer Michelle Smith and cycling instructor Stacy Griffith. Now, the collection is launching with women's activewear, similar to the strategic entry points that we'd seen in the past from the likes of Lululemon. NPD Group data that's actually pointed out that activewear increased 37% in 2021. So pre-summer launch time, that's par for the course as part of Walmart's homegrown brands, at least here. Swimwear, that's obviously a crowded space because it's not just athletic apparel brands, but even some flows into that fast fashion category and even traditional fashion names. So the convenience factor, that could prove to be a significant benefit for Walmart in this effort, so much so that the company has only really had to focus on the last 10 miles between consumer and store location. 90% of people in the U.S. live within that 10-mile radius of a Walmart. So obviously existing inventory partners who rely on Walmart for sales going to track the rollout closely and positioning of the apparel both in-store and online.
Did you recognize either of those names before this story? I'm just curious, because I did not.
Story, no.
Okay, yeah, I did not either. And Smith, I guess, had designed the actual gown that Michelle Obama wore in her Smithsonian portrait. So an interesting turn from that to activewear, which has gone from 50 to 70 billion in the last year. A remarkable industry for them to jump into. I think the price point's nice too, $12 and $42.
Yeah.
Dramatically different than a lot of the other top shelf activewear lines out there. So it looks like a very good play. We're going to stay in that same category. My pick is Amazon. AMZN having a brutal Friday to forget. The stock is down about 15% at this hour. That's its worst single day in 8 years since 2014 on the heels of those relatively disappointing earnings reports. Said new CEO Andy Jassy, the pandemic and subsequent war in Ukraine have brought unusual growth and challenges. Inflation, fuel prices, labor issues all added $2 billion in costs compared to the year before. The online retail giant also lost $7.6 billion on their investment in EV maker Rivian. Second quarter forecast suggests revenue could fall between 3 and 7%, and that's what's really driving this number down. Here's a question for you both. Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person? Because Jeff Bezos lost $20 billion in net worth in one day, $40 billion year to date. On the flip side, he has that to lose, and he is still the third richest person in the world. So, Rochelle, glass half empty or glass half full?
I mean, if I lost that much, I mean, it's not like I'm crying into my caviar. I don't have, Jeff Bezos as well. He'll be all right, to put it shortly. But as you mentioned, Rivian really taking a bite out of a lot of some of these tech giants who've invested heavily in it. But obviously, Amazon's still trying to grow in its healthcare space. Also, what we're seeing with consumer spending still not slowing down, up 1.1% for March. So there's still that pent-up demand for consumers. But we're going to have to see if some of these other headwinds for Amazon are going to end up plaguing it in the long run, or if they can really bounce back.
I just want to start a t-shirt company of all of the Rochelle quotes so that we can take that to an Amazon third-party seller, or perhaps us be the third-party seller. Not crying into my caviar.
Yeah.
That's t-shirt worthy right there. Quote card.
Good
Let's make
stuff,
it
man.
immediately. But look, at the end of the day, yeah, he does have it to lose. It's the question of what's the prospect for an Amazon that doesn't have Jeff Bezos at the helm, what that looks like. And quite frankly, when we're talking about cloud or any type of web services company, how much did they pull forward so much of that growth in order to see that revenue realized and that profit margin realized in the immediate term? And what does that prospect look like going forward from here?
Tough one. Amazon Web Services continues to drive Amazon. Coming up, the housing market in Denver is heating up. We'll have the details next.